So, hello to everybody. Welcome to this Quantox virtual conference. I'm Marko Manojlović, and on this session I will talk about Deno, some basics and some practical demos. I think that you will find this useful. So, at the beginning, what is Deno? Or I would like to call it Deno, because it's Serbian name and Dino, like dinosaurs, but that is something that is interesting. Some people call it Dino, but usually Deno. This is runtime for JavaScript and TypeScript, similar like Node.js. Interesting about Deno is that it's created by the same author as author of Node.js, Ryan Dahl. So I believe in this project and I like this. And in the last 6 months, and is very, very, very big hype about it, especially between developers. Deno is based also on Rust and V8 JS engine. Node.js is based also on V8, but is written on C++, not in Rust. Basically, that is some major difference. Deno is focused on productivity as first thing. So, from the beginning, they designed that. They provide a lot of tools and features which will become Deno ecosystem, part of Deno ecosystem, and all projects are open source and will be powered by open source developers and will grow from the future. Also, I will show on this session a lot of examples, and here on my GitHub, Marko Programmer/Deno examples, are available all examples for this session, if you ask for that in any time. So, some major features of Deno is decentralized packages. So there is no npm look-like registry for packages like for Node. Is decentralized. You could input from any point of the internet, from any CDN, any GitHub, or whatever where you share your files. Also, they provide standard library with standard modules that are verified, and they should work on current version or compatible version of Deno. Deno also has built in mind that has support modern JS like S modules, and Deno modules are built like S modules, not common JS like in Node.js. Something that I forgot, you be active on chat and ask questions, but I will review questions for sure at the end, so that everything, I will hope that everything will answer. Also, Deno supports built-in testing framework. Building is very easy to test this, because you don't need to think, I need some framework for testing. There is out-of-the-box support for testing, and which I really like about Deno, and also linters, formatters I will show later. But the wealth is that ecosystem that is provided by Deno. Also is compatible with browser APIs and WebAssembly. So some Deno code also is possible to be run in browser. Installation is very easy. Is single command for macOS and Windows, and you get Deno in terminal available, and you could work. Nothing more. So let's begin with basic examples. When we install Deno, we could run some code, and command is simple. So we have Deno run and what we run. basically we run URL from URL, but we could run from also from the file. And I'm going to switch to this command. So I run this code, and as you see from location, it's GitHub repo. And if I click here, I'm gonna go to my GitHub and open this raw file. I'm gonna zoom in a little bit so to be visible. So simple program console log as that does in log. Basically, as you see, I export here default module, and every Deno module should be exported on that standard way as ECMAScript modules. Other example is running basic Deno server. Deno server could be run by this single command. Okay, I have run this server, and we will look at code. Code is basically here, is demo example 2. And what is that? We have some import also from URL. And we initialize our server, send port, and we have 4 of 8. 4 of 8 is a feature, newer feature in JavaScript, which executes on every request, return promise, and executes requests. And simply we return this message in body. Basically, as you see, this is from standard library. So we have deno/lan/std. This means standard library server, out of the box HTTP support. So you don't need to think what I should use for HTTP. You have in standard library. Okay. Basically, I covered these 2 examples. One more interesting command. We have Deno upgrade. We could upgrade to any version of Deno and downgrade, which is very useful. In Node.js environment, we know for NVM to switch between Node versions or NPM versions, and that's to keep compatible between several projects and etc. But Deno out of the box support upgrade to any downgrade, which is very, very useful, and I like it. Hold that idea that something is ecosystem and is supported from the beginning. Yes, it's unstable, it's in early phase, but it will grow for sure. Architecture Deno, as I told you at the beginning, is written in Rust and used V8. So what I could tell you interesting, first at the top of program or running Deno program, we have Deno Rust process, and then we have isolation JavaScript context, isolated process Rust that run our program. Basically, main components of Deno runtime is these 2: Tokyo runtime for async I/O and V8 execution. V8, as you know, is engine developed by Google and used in Chrome for executing JavaScript, and used in also Node.js and here also. So over V8, they built some library in C++ for interacting with Deno runtime. And so when our program runs JavaScript, sends JavaScript to V8 and runs it. When our program needs to some TCP or operating system calls or something that is out of JavaScript handling, Deno calls Tokyo for managing it. And in Tokyo, there is thread pool for managing that. And basically, this is single event-driven non-blocking I/O, and has communication with operating system and TCP sockets and etc. So that is how Deno runtime works under the hood. It's very powerful, I think, and Node.js use C++ for this and libuava. So this is something more modern and more, I think, better. So since Rust is also something new and something very performant, and etc. Yes, it will be uploaded on YouTube. Don't worry. Authors of Deno likes to compare Deno with Linux or operating system. So some Deno concepts could be equivalent to some Linux concept, like we have processes in Linux. In Deno, we have web workers. We have syscalls and operations in Deno. That is operations to the Tokyo engine. File description in the operating system, resource IDs, scheduler in operating system Tokyo in Deno runtime, and something not important, standard library, operating system libraries, etc. So you understand that concepts. Furthermore, Deno runtime is documented. There are APIs for communicating with Deno, with operating system, with files, with TCP, with everything. Also is very useful because we could embed our plugin and in Deno runtime, and our plugin should not be JavaScript. Could be Rust plugin. For example, Deno Mongo is driver, which is wrapper over Rust Mongo driver and works with Deno. So that is very, very good benefit of that. So I'm gonna turn my for better viewing during this code. When I go to the documentation, I have these APIs to see, for example, if I want to find the right file, yes, I can easily find. And there is example, and it is documented, and it's nice. Very interesting that when you write your own modules, you will have also ability to generate documentation like this by adding comments, JSDoc comments, and Deno supports Deno doc, which could generate this also documentation, like in terminal documentation, strings, text, or on website. I'm gonna return camera. Struggling with presentation, fonts, maybe network. I'm reviewing this, and everything is fine currently. Standard modules are available on this address, and we will go to the standard modules. It's similar like GitHub, and we have here supported versions, like we have versioning and modules documentation, and like similar like on GitHub, but they provided from beginning. Every standard module from library is guaranteed, and to work with specific version of Deno, independent from Deno runtime, under the CTD on GitHub. So it's not very coupled with Deno runtime, imported with URL, a standard module, and that's it pretty much about standard modules. As I show, this is a site, how it looks like. And that's it. Third-party models also are supported, and you could have your third-party model on every CDN, on GitHub, and etc. But they provided also a platform for hosting third-party models. You could write your own models, add module here. You have add module and host your model also on their platform. So, which is very useful. For example, if I have my module on my GitHub, as you see, /Marko Programmer, and I want to see documentation generated, I click on this link. So I have deno/my module. I will have documented my module because I have comments in that file. So yes, it's pure comments, but if you have bigger module, documentation will be automatically generated. Basically, command for generating documentation is deno-doc or deno-inf, and you will see in terminal the same like I saw, but in plain text. Also, deno-info command is for dependency graph. So if I run this command, I will get dependency graph of my project. As you see, there is dependency graph. So my project first depends from server, then server from UTF-Awesome, from mod.ts, etc. It's very nice. Basically, we have one more command in runtime, deno install. Install enables us to install script globally on OS, and then we have short and the command to run that script. So deno install allow net, for example, if I install my server, and then I could run that my server in terminal. So I think that is also one interesting thing. More of deno commands. I mentioned most of them, but we have bundle, we have format, fnt, lint, test, etc. But that are some of the most interesting. If you have Deno project, for example, the most important characteristic of Deno projects are that packages are decentralized, so you don't depend on like single npm registry. You pull your code wherever you want location. No npm package JSON packages configuration. Basically, you could run a Deno project with only code files with zero configuration. Packages are imported from URLs. Modules are cached on hard drive after first load. So when I do Deno run and some dependency are downloaded from the internet, that dependencies are cached in hard drive and on OS hard drive, and is very fast next run. If you want to reload, you could reload it if there are no versions of update. So like I said before, we have ecosystem, we have formatter, linters, debugger support for example, VS Code or JetBrains tool IDs, docs generators, testing tools, dependency info, as I said, cache, switching between versions, etc. Future ecosystem. Yes, something is in early phase, but from the beginning, I think is designed very well. And why that is the case? Because it's author, Randall, and community, which has very big experience with Node.js and building Node.js. So I think their experience and their new design will be very powerful. Will Deno become very big or become bigger than Node.js? Who knows? Node.js has a large community, a lot of libraries, etc. But is one more competitor to Node.js, and I think will be good in future. For security, Deno allows flags. There are available flags and list of flags here, and I'm not gonna open because it's boring. You have a list of allow flags, allow net, allow the write or read, etc. when you run your programs. Extensions, file extensions that Deno support is JS or TS. When JS is extension, Deno recognizes as JavaScript and run as JavaScript. When TS is TypeScript, and Deno compiles TypeScript to JavaScript and send to execute. Also, some interesting thing about Deno is that out of the box has a TypeScript compiler. So when you write Deno version, you get Deno version, V8 version, and TypeScript version. So that is for sure interesting that you don't need to install TypeScript. It comes pre-installed with Deno runtime. Deno format, as I said, the Deno format is for formatting code, and Deno linting for linting code. I think that is kind of interesting. It's similar like slint and prettier versions, and they say that will be very, very similar. Yes, it's an early phase, but they work on it. And if I run, for example, on this not well formatted code, if I run format, that code will become formatted, and for sure will be supported in IDEs in future. Testing runner, you have a full list of iterations, and you could run your tests. So out of the box, I like it. When you run tests, you get this formatted log as something usual, something that we saw in Jest, Mocha, and Jasmine, and similar. Deno debugger is possible to be integrated in VS Code, in JetBrains IDs, or in Chrome DevTools supported. So that is very good. Also, Deno MongoDB. As I said, there are Deno Mongo driver. Most popular one is wrapper over Tokyo driver. And how to interact with that driver is import from URL and initialize. Import from URL, initialize client, and then connect to that database with connection string. We write TypeScript, so we need some user schema, TypeScript interface, and we could create a database in Mongo, then collection, and we could insert. So it's very straightforward, very similar like on Node.js drivers, and practically if you work with Node.js, for you, this is very easy. Deno REST APIs support are with some popular libraries. Some of them are Oak middleware, similar like Express. Currently support static hosting and support routing. So that Oak is something that is currently most used for APIs. And if you go to Oak GitHub, is documented, has examples, and a lot of contributors, 36, not bad, and updated soon. So a basic example in Oak, by creating router, you import router from remote, then initialize router, initializing of router here, then configuration of every API independently. Router get method. So we destructing here, this is whole is context input parameter, but here is destructed. So we have request, response, and in TypeScript manner we have types. Not great here any, but it's simpler in this example. So when we want to write response, we set status, we set body, success true or false, never mind, and some message or some JavaScript object. So it's very easy to interact with it. And you don't need to return anything and something like that. Also, post is similar. On put or post, we could have parameters. So we also from context get distracted, or we should not distract, but we get anyway parameters. And delete, it's normal. So that is from the presentation point of view, and I will switch to demos right now. I will show the demos that are connected to these presentations, and demo will cover a server with simple CRUD, integrations with Mongo, React Keynote application, and a little bit about React single-sign rendering with Deno. So going here to examples. What I write here is simple folder, nothing special, with a lot of examples, and that are available on my GitHub. I will repeat in the end also one more time. So I want to run, for example, format. That is third example. We have unformatted code here, and with Deno format, we could easily format it. So I'm not in the position. Right now I'm good. When I run this format, as you know, code is formatted, as you see. So that works from now. So I'll go to the fourth example. Fourth example is simple Deno server. I will explain a little bit. Oh no, it's not simple Deno server. Is React single server-side rendering. So what we have here, import from React. Believe it or not, this code will run React and get in browser without React project configuration. How is that possible? That is possible because Deno could compile TCX or JSX to JavaScript also, and to run that JavaScript on Deno runtime and to return in browser. So we have already some support for React, some libraries, and we import React DOM server for React standard server-side rendering. So what we have here. Create an app, create an route. A app is created by this server ts.js, which is also some Deno middleware. Then we have await. We executing respond, and in respond we are rendering some HTML or React component is possible to render. So if we run this, sorry. So if you run this, it's running on this port. And we have rendered this. And could be React component also integrated and rendered on server-side rendering. We are going to fifth example. Fifth example is connecting to MongoDB, as I explained earlier. So we have this Mongo client, URL, and connection, creating database, users, and inserting one user. I have here one MongoDB database. As you see, I don't have user collection, user database. I used this Mongo instance on Mongo Atlas Cloud, who started right now with Mongo or he don't need to install Mongo locally. It's free on Mongo Atlas, and I recommended it. I like it because I don't need to install locally. I don't like to install locally a lot of stuff, which I don't use very often. So if I run this example, I need to have a lot of security allows flex. So Deno run allow plugin. As I said, Deno Mongo used Tokyo Mongo and runs our plugin. So I need to allow plugin. I need allow net, allow read, allow write. So plugin also system is unstable right now, and we need to put this unstable flag right now because whole Deno plugin system is not stable right now. And our code that we want to run from URL or file. So if I run, it's executed. And if I refresh here, I expect user database to be available. Yes, is user database available? And is inserted one row. Next example is example 6, is running test. Basically, something that I show. We have in console expected actual value, test failed right now. It's informative, it's nice. I'm going to more complex examples. I'm going to API examples connected with Mongo also. So I put it in some other directory. And some interesting thing about shell, I have a code competition in shell. I could run a Deno, for example, allow, if that works. Sorry, run. And then allow, I could have competitions, but not, yes, I have competitions. Deno run, allow, and all permissions. It's also works. And what we have here, basically, we have APIs that I'm not copied that good. Yes, I run that. Is on port 300. If I go to test this REST endpoints, this is this folder, and test HTTP. So I have this simple plugin for running REST test. Is simpler than Postman. Is useful for this fast testing. So if I run this server that I run already, and I return all users from database. If I send post, I will create one user, for example, Marko, and 1, 2, 3. So if I run, I will create new user. To prove you, I will check in database. It's a little bit slower, but we have here users, and I expect some user Marko 3, or I will execute, for example, one more time. We have here 25. If we refresh, we have 36. So that is basically API, and I will show you how that works. So I have server. Server that also used Oak. I need to import application. I need to import course. I use course right now because that backend will be client for next app that I will show, and so I need course to enable my API, my application to APIs be available for this application. Here I imported a router. This is my local router that I show in presentation. I configure port and initialize application. So I could here also inject my logger. So logger is a general logger, and will log every request. As you see, we have in logger when we run requests, get, post, and etc. That is that logger. So nice to integrate in general place one logger for your APIs. Also configuration of that course. I enabled my localhost application on port 3001 to access these APIs. So I here configure routes from my router, use these routes, also allow all methods. That mean REST methods, put, post, delete, everything, patch. So we have here last log and listen. So we have here in route await. Mention this. Before we cannot write await in root context, but we could in Deno because Deno wrapped our application with some async function, and we could have top awaits and top levels. And our server listen, why we are awaiting server? Because server return promise, and that promise is resolved when server is aborted, etc. We could have more control over server. So some more interesting thing that I installed Deno extension, and I could navigate to this. I could navigate to this libraries and source codes. So if I put here, for example, I want to see how Oak is implemented. I was navigated, and I see implementation details. I could analyze it, what happens, why happens, etc. And I think that is good, and that works good right now. So useful. It's all known stuff and supported in Deno. In router, what I have in router that I import in server, simple configuration. So router for that modules, initialize router, and set up 2 handlers. And I route some simple controllers, look like controllers of model view controller architecture, but it's simple handlers of post action. So if I go to the controller, I have this controller. I import collection for TypeScript type, never mind, for Mongo, and I imported DB instance, so I could access DB. I will explain later, but it's same as we have client DB before on example. We have interface, Untitled Schema, and basically this REST APIs is about attendee to conference, we have ID, we have name, email, and age. So how we could add attendees? We have here attendees collection of database of users, and right now our handler receive context is context from route. So here could be accessed body, request, response, params, etc. So I read body with await manner. So you need is everything with await in Deno. So I distracting from body value, name, email, age, what I received, and I called insert in MongoDB. So simple. And at the end, I write response, body, ID I write, and 201 successful error. If some bad happens, it's body null, status 500, and log. Nothing special. But you could saw some example of handling request and writing to database. Looks very simple, very similar like on Node backends or middlewares. And right now we have to return all. It's similar. There is no parameters, only write to body list that we received from database. And I mapped here ID or ID to don't return complex structure to the client. So that is about API, and we need to also to explain DB. So this DB is the same like before. Mongo client, new Mongo client, connect to my database and create database if not exist, object, and that's it. So I showed that all APIs. Right now I have last more example. that Deno server-side rendering with React. I will keep this backend up and running so I could call from my application. I already have Deno for that prepared. To see location, I'm a good location. Currently, I will run that application. It's also server that will serve our application. So I'm gonna run this application and I'm gonna try if that works. I have before that link. Yes, that is. So this is simple application. When I click, I get data from the database. So I call that APIs that I hosted. I call that API that I hosted on port 3000 and get method and got response. So that works. And this is React application with zero project configuration, server-side rendering with Deno, and has SSR head rate to enable also interaction. So initially, when we load our application, whole HTML is already on server rendered. So we see as localhost response is HTML. But when we first time interact, it happens head rate and React is executed. So nice and interesting. And right now, I'm going to show that demo, how that works. So first of all, I will show application. It's React with import from URL React, zero configuration project. I'm funny about that because I didn't believe that is possible in this early phase with Deno, but I like that because it covered a lot of things and also covered SEX and JSX, and I like React because I work a lot with React, and that is something that I'm very exciting. And I think from this support we will have great SSR libraries with Deno for React. So that is something related to TypeScript. We must define what we use in HTML, what HTML tags with any, that is a tweak TCX that works, and we have some standard React component. If state, I used hooks here, fetch attendees, not very nice in component fetch, but it's example for this conference. And I call these APIs, are coded all. Sorry for that. And I return response. So I only, I have a button, fetch attendees and rendering attendees. And what you don't see here, how that looks nice, or even I think that looks nice because I import on some hacky way CSS as a static import. So I will show that in server. So how that server looks like. Import from React with DOM server, the same like before. And we use Opine, that server, middleware parse. I don't know why, because I reused that example. I will look at code earlier before. And I import my component. That is my component. So I have browser path and base server function, and I run this base server function, and I send my model that I will import to be rendered. So how that server works? Again, this middleware is initialized. Module, again, is assigned here, never mind. And then we have that is related to rendering. So we have import, JS import, and React DOM import, and at the end we have attaching React and Hydrate. That is script that has our app rendered and wrapped. Then that JS will be returned on route. So when my app want to return that JS because it has series script import, and then my server is able to serve this. And that is the magic behind it. It's basically this, because it's executed and returned to string, returned to browser. And also I imported here CSS, so Bulma CSS to be nicer and to has available CSS classes. So that's it pretty much about that example. But to do that all work is possible because Deno out of box support TCX and compiling it. And that's it on base route. On base route, we return HTML. What is HTML? This is that HTML React rendered to string, because we rendered our component to string and wrapped with this string, and that string we sent with our server. So rendered application on server, sent to the client. That is first step. Second step, that application when user interacts and also has a dependency script, browser path. What is that browser path? Browser path is this React code that is also rendered our application and with Hydrate, so could interact with that application. And that's it about this example. And I'm gonna return to presentation. So maybe I'm not the best explaining it. I not understand it fully, but I think it's very powerful to show that example. So after this example, I have my personal conclusions. As I said, Randall is a smart engineer. I believe to him. He proved himself, and I believe in this project. All bad things from Node are solved. What bad things? Probably they realize they must have some ecosystem. They standardize things, documentation, and etc. And also they write that in Rust, probably more performant. I don't know, but with modern JavaScript. So with that standardized ecosystem, there will not be a lot of question what library to use, what to use for HTTP, what to use for that testing, etc. Because you have standardized ecosystem and powered by open source. For me, that is the most important value for them, nothing else. And I saw that as a very big potential. Is new technology a disadvantage? Is not supported all? everything is unstable, and beta phase is not covered, not supported on libraries. For example, Firebase is not supported. Firebase, for example, has good support in Node.js and cannot be easily migrated supported Node.js modules to Deno, because Node.js modules use Node.js APIs, Node.js methods, and etc. So everybody who wants to migrate must migrate and to use Deno APIs and Deno SDKs to run their own JavaScript. Also, I think for us as developers is a big opportunity currently or in this state to work Deno, or maybe to provide some open source library or something, because it's a lot of things are missing and we have Node.js experience, and we could provide and we could get benefit to it for our career, for our personal growth, and etc. So that is one opportunity for Deno, for us also. First time when I hear about Deno, I hear a lot of hype. I hear nice things that will go over Node, will become new Node, and etc. But when I got deeper, I was disappointed. Everything is early phase, not compatible with Node modules, need migrations, etc. But after I saw this ecosystem and philosophy and good design or concept, and they not only cover the runtime but whole process and also open source community, I saw benefit. And I like ecosystems like Apple has ecosystem, and for example, if you use an iPhone, you will go to the watch, you will go to the some standard things, and works well integrated each other and communicate good. And that analogy I would like to see in the ecosystem, and I think that could be benefit. Also, I like that you could run your code with zero configuration. Currently, with only import from remote, it's very, very smooth, very fast. And Deno also runs faster than Node.js program, because before JavaScript not supported array types. What array types are a mechanism to manipulate data structure with low-level memory and pointers. JavaScript what not supported that when Node.js was implemented. So right now JavaScript supported, and communication between V8 and Tokyo is by switching pointers, which is very, very faster than we have in libview or Node communication. So running Deno is faster for sure. That's it pretty much. I think that I'm at the end. It's 59 minutes and we have time for questions. I hope that you will find that useful. So I'll go to the questions section. What I see, first question: how often do you ride bicycle? Not quite often, to be honest. It's let's see. What the advantages of running Mongo on the cloud versus local? No advantages, but I like this. It's free Mongo Atlas cloud. You create single instance. Is on cluster. You have 3 nodes. But you configure it on local your machine, because you could run some development projects on that, and it's free. But of course, running in production, and that is not a question. But for sure, right now everything is going on cloud, and for sure it's better to run on cloud and with scale and with Kubernetes and such. But never mind, it's not, I think, question. How do we host Deno apps on server? Same as Node. I would recommend using Docker containers and Kubernetes, and nothing special. same as node applications. I feel npm gives us some sense of security of packages we install. What is your opinion on that? And can npm still be used with Deno? Maybe we can import from local node mods. I don't know really. Yes, your question is interesting, and I heard about that question because npm is secure. You import from npm, your models should down. Yeah, right now you could download from every location. CDN is not secured. But what I hear for Ryan Dahl and his answer, he said npm is also unsecure. On npm you could publish any code and secure. Maybe they have detectors, I don't know, but I think it's similarly for me, and I more like benefit that I could run from any URL than to keep using only npm. That's it. I think that I answered. So any question more? Yeah, how to set up GraphQL in Deno? I don't know. Probably is not supported yet. That is the minus. Yes, that is a minus. But who knows when Facebook will write GraphQL support, or maybe we could write, but that is opportunity also. But for sure, big companies will not switch too easy to Deno. The big companies has node projects run several years, a lot of projects, lot of code. But from new projects, for smaller projects, I always like to try new technology and to run. And I think that Deno is valuable for that. So that's it. One more question? No? Okay, we exceed 1 hour 30 minutes. I think we have good time management. I think that was useful. I'm not experienced with Deno too much, but I learned, and I like to learn, and I want to show. It's nothing special, but I liked it.